That's really the only time we ever saw this Lion flop. You have to bring more attention to that Four Zoomers Team series where it felt like Four Zoomers had it figured out with the Tide Hunter, where you have to be so close that it does make sense why this Lion definitely sort of flopped. Now the Abaddon pick, you're picking it into Timbersaw. I'm getting a little bit scared because again, we are seeing the Timbersaw into Abaddon. We saw how poor that lane did end up going. But I like this hero a lot. This is a hero that on paper we didn't see for months whenever this Terrorblade was getting its speed, was getting incredibly popular. But now we're finally teams feeling confident enough, and versus the Abaddon, versus the Terrorblade, you don't need to worry about too many heroes jumping on top of you, making it hard for you to find those stomps. So absolutely love the Elder Titan. On paper, it's always been good versus Terrorblade, but now we're finally seeing teams actually pick it up.
Yeah, ET, you're a fan of ET? Anyone would have guessed? Really? That's
Anyone
surprising.
would
Never
have
would have thought.
guessed.
Never
Anyone
would have
would have
thought you'd have
guessed.
been a fan of the ET hero. Yeah. It's much
I
like
love
me being a fan of the Ricky hero. The bad news is Ricky kind of sucks. And he has kind of sucked for like 3 years now, but one of these
Hey,
days he'll be a viable hero.
he had his heyday. He had the
Dude, he
Ags. He
was
had
good for like 2.5 weeks before they just
yeah,
nerfed him into the
they
dumpster.
had to get him out of the game. They
Dude,
had to get him out of the game.
total
Nobody wanted to play
overreaction.
Dylan.
Total
Nobody wanted to
overreaction.
play Dylan. It was just not fun. It wasn't fun. Like,
uh,
that's the beauty of this Elder Titan here, where you have a very obvious flaw, right? The Shadow Demon ET, you're not going to have that much lockdown. You still have now a hole where if NoPing really wanted to, you could look for that in Dark Mago's hero, and this is what they're
that's
gonna do.
really good.
The
Yep.
Ember Spirit now doesn't have anyone to play against it. Now, Shadow Demon is okay versus the Ember Spirit, just where if you don't have that Remnant set up already, you can't really get a Remnant after the Purge happens, as well as not having that Flame Guard available to you. But you get enough speed, you get a few items, you get that BKB. Suddenly, this Ember Spirit has nobody to contest him in the world. Really free Ember game.
Yeah, it is. Like having no stuns here on the side of Infamous, for the most part. I mean, you could argue a few things, but there's not really a good lockdown solution currently for the Ember Spirit. They're going to ban out the Invoker, which is just one of those solid lane counters. Maybe go for the or not. I'm sorry, the Storm Spirit next, which could also be a solid pickup for them. But you'd really, the one thing I have to worry about the most would be the puck, right? I mean, I look at this lineup and I think if you manage to get a puck here on the side of Infamous, you're actually feeling pretty strong because you can play really aggressively with this Timbersaw ET Shadow Demon, making a lot of space for this Medusa, and she currently counters your entire lineup. Like, so many of these heroes just have no answer to the puck. They're going to go ahead and deal with Leshrac, but I am worried that you're about to get ran over by a puck here from Infamous.
And it's not just the puck. If they really want to go for it, I was surprised that they let it through over that Leshrac getting through. If they wanted to, they could run it back and pick up the Kunkka that we saw in that previous game. Of course, Kunkka is one of those heroes that definitely has his drawbacks if he falls behind farm-wise, and we did just see the Medusa Kunkka core duo, but that is your hero that still feels fantastic versus Abaddon, still feels great versus Ember Spirit, another hero to pull him back. And really, they have two incredible options now on Infamous. It really is just whatever Alone wants to play here.
Kunkka looks
And they
great
pick
now.
Centaur. Both heroes look even
Yeah.
better. Now you're going to pop that Stampede. If you have that immediate hero, now it's just what do they value? Do they want to go for the puck and be a little bit more elusive where now you have that Earth Splitter into Dream Coil? Honestly, the puck would feel the best out of any other hero they could pick. If they did want to go for the Kunkka, I think that would more be a comfort pick hero where you can definitely ruin the Ember Spirit's lane a little bit harder if you do go for that Kunkka, but it's just that coil. The coil
The
would be
coil's so
brutal this
good.
game if they
Yeah.
went for it.
Like I look at Puck, and if she manages to catch like any of these heroes in a coil, you do have the Abaddon, which is one of the best heroes at dealing with coil, right? He snaps it, pops borrowed time, saves another hero. But the amount of magic burst that this Puck can bring to the table early in the game, especially if she goes for like or if like the Puck goes for like a Witchblade, you just melt pretty much all of these heroes. Stampede completely nullified by the existence of a coil here. So they go Lena, completely different than anything I would have expected.
Yeah, and okay, so now Infamous with this pick, they're basically saying, we are going to now pick up a hero that is going to win that ranged matchup versus the Terrorblade, where if we feel like our Medusa coming in from Lumiere is going to be under threat, we now have this hero where we've seen Forzoomer's Gunner be so successful on it, especially in those matchups where it feels like the enemy carry can't get on top of you. In addition to that, Alone should have a huge advantage over Dark Mago in the mid lane. If Dark Mago can get an early kill on him, that would really make things a little bit more even, but if this is just going to be a straight up 1v1, Alone could run completely over this Ember Spirit, and that's where Dark Mago really has to be careful. He has to play way more defensively because he's going to be really on the back foot from this lane. And looking at the lanes that he has to gank, he has to play so hard on these supports. Of course, it isn't going to be a very hard game when it comes to that lockdown. Unfortunately, this Lina hero doesn't really help you at all in that department, where maybe the puck would have been a little bit more helpful. But I think they're saying with this Lina pickup, we want to play versus the Terrorblade. We want to secure what we think is the enemy's win condition. Well, we're going to make that a little bit harder with this Lina.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how this Lina works. I'm a little bit disappointed we're not seeing the puck. Lumiere's Medusa is definitely something that you have to respect. It is one of his better heroes. But yeah, here we go. Game 1 here in this best of 2, Infamous versus NoPing, our 4th and final series of the night. Should be a fun one nonetheless. I'm actually really excited to watch this series. Both these teams obviously have pretty good showing so far in the tournament. Again, NoPing slightly above Infamous in the brackets, but this game could definitely swap that if Infamous managed to take this 2-0.
Yeah, and
a little pause.
I was going to say, always a pause at the beginning of the game, and a bunch of disconnects on the NoPing side, but they do need to be very considerate of this Medusa. We've seen Medusas run away with games. Unfortunately, didn't see the Medusa run away with the game in that previous series, even though we still saw TRS at the top of the net worth for such a long time. It's kind of his thing at this point to just be more farm than anyone else, no matter the win or loss of his hero. But now I think it is going to be on Lumiere. I'm curious what item build he does decide to go for, because normally you would say, well, you're playing versus a Terrorblade, you're going to get Manta Butterfly pretty much no matter what. But Lumiere's the kind of guy where I've also seen him go Dragonlance, Sanjin Yashin to Daedalus every other game. He's one of those stat king safe lane players where he really values just having more damage, having more raw HP than his opponent, to where I think the Terrorblade's item build is a little bit more obvious. NoPing Angel really goes for pretty much the same thing every game, trying to get that Scotty, more or less second, third item. He really doesn't play around with his items too much.
Yeah, not at all. Still pause here. It looks like got the reconnect though, so we might be jumping back into this one. Should just take another moment or so as we wait for that to begin. Both the teams, honestly, fairly evenly balanced, I would imagine. There we go. All right.
Saw that coming.
Oscar going to be taking the Centaur Warrunner to the offlane with the help of Matthew on the Hoodwink. They are going to be all 5 heroes here relatively close in the bottom side here. They're not going to plan on offlaning the Terrorblade aggressively, are they?
I can't imagine. I think this is just for runes. He's probably going to rotate elsewhere after the fact, but yeah, it's got to be that, especially having the stick. He wants to lane versus the Timbersaw and the SD. He doesn't want to lane versus Medusa with this starting item build.
So I know I've seen it a few times where like Terrorblades will go aggressively into the Medusa lane and maybe try and force a tri-lane. If they do that, you have Centaur versus Timbersaw, which feels pretty bad for your Centaur. Ooh, nice D-ward in the mid lane. Gonna go that way.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. I'm really curious as to what a lot of these safe liners decide to do with their starting items. Before, we were seeing that double slippers into double branch build that China really popularized. Now in NASA, a lot of people just start with more or less all of these wand components and then try to get a wand as their first item. A lot of the times with that stat-heavy Chinese build, we would see them immediately rush that Band of Elven Skin, but everybody just wants to get a wand as soon as you can, get as many charges, and then really rely on your support to give you pretty much all your regen. Of course, that is pretty much the same across the board, but it's really just whether or not you want that agi, you want that extra damage early, or you just want that easy build-up. I think if you're not buying wand in your pubs, just do it already. We even see Lumiere go for the build that I was talking about, but that's where just seeing a little bit of a differing thought on these starting items.
Yeah. So Michael here on the Shadow Demon, gonna just get ran down a little bit by Pandaboo. I'm not 100% sold on the Shadow Demon, but it does make a really good thing here, which is that Pandaboo can't really put any points into the Curse of Avernus.
Precisely, and I'll never forget till the day I die. In NADPC, I saw this lane. I saw it was SD versus Abaddon in Jubei. He got Curse level 1, and he had an Uv, and then he got solo killed level 1 by that Shadow Demon. And that's where Pandaboo, there is really no option. That is the hard counter in this lane, where we'll probably see him go 4-4-0, or at least wait a very long time before we see any points in that Curse, which will make it a lot easier for Sacred to play in these creep waves. While there is a lot of magic damage coming out from that shield, you don't have to worry about getting cursed and then immediately hit up by that meta.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the meta, Angel gonna drop that one and just start farming away. Sacred forced to TP back to his tower.
Okay. Really early TP. He didn't even want to play around the fact that he was going to get run down. I think you look at his XP and it makes a little bit more sense. He had to wait for creeps to die, and Angel would have just ran him down, and he didn't have anything in reactive. He's still holding a point. Kind of strange here for Sacred, because he is getting zoned really hard off this wave that doesn't even exist. Michael was already making moves to steal it, so okay, we'll have to see what he skills up still, but can only imagine it's got to be the reactive. There's no way you get okay.
You do go yeah, it's like I've seen people go for the Whirling Death when they just want to play aggressive. He just doesn't have the mana right now.
Yeah.
His courier is actually just stuck in the side of the lane there, and without the mana, he can't really do anything. You could potentially find kills onto heroes like the Abaddon since there are no Curse of Avernus up, and you can just play aggressive with the Whirling Death. But yeah, he just doesn't have the regen. He's got to wait until that Soul Ring comes back.
Yeah, and maybe if you have mangoes, you want to go for that play, but I really feel like he'd be a lot happier spending his gold elsewhere, because he did get a full reset. He had a full set of tangos and a salve sent out to him before, because he was sitting pretty low, but we'll have to see. I'm sure he's going to be able to bring back this lane a little bit more. Sacred Timbersaw, that's pretty much his hero. That's what you always see him end up playing whenever he does get his happy draft going for him. That and his Bloodseeker, which we've seen work to varying degrees of success, but unfortunately, Michael has been more or less attached to this Timbersaw by the hip. Can't really afford to give him too much soul XP right now, and that's where Pandaboo has been pestering him, not giving him too many opportunities to stack for that Medusa, but bottom.
Close. Yeah. I really thought that first blood was going to go the way of Infamous, but it's going to be Oscar grabbing it with a double edge last second. Very close there.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to be giving this XP over to Lumiere, because in Matthew, oh my goodness, he's just lead arrows, just getting sucked up by that Hoodwink. And once you hit level 3 Snake, it's really difficult for this Centaur to walk up to the wave without eating another 400 or 500 damage nuke, and that's more space over to Lumiere.
Yeah, I can't imagine that Lumiere is going to have a... is going to be disappointed with how this game is going so far. He's getting a decent amount of XP, soloing the wave basically at the moment. Going to be getting, like you said, that level 5 fairly quickly. And once you have that, you basically just take the lane over. And at that point, they're going to just stack up. Medusa will probably rotate, try and start taking those Ancients fairly early. It's really going to come down to whether or not Angel can do the same thing here. But
the true heroes are the ones who wait.
We'll see what happens.
And it is hard to say. The real big advantage is you get every single bounce in the creep wave. +1. So that would obviously be the Centaur in this situation, and that's where Oscar has to be patient up until he gets that Vanguard. He really isn't the tankiest fella, especially with how he's had to itemize just to really make the difference, getting that Ring of Protection. And at the same time, we've seen Infamous A, or we've seen A on this Elder Titan before. Him and Stinger still really like that hero, and it's very difficult to make the play onto him, especially with a hero like Hoodwinked and Matthew made the rotation top.
Yeah, they're going to allow that to find Michael. Really well done.
And it's honestly super clean. You don't really need to do anything for Oscar at the moment, but back to that bottom lane with Matthew, you can't really do much versus that Astral Spirit. Once it gets sended back to A, he can just kind of run at people, and now Oscar is going to get completely zoned out here, and it's a stacked camp, so unfortunately he's going to miss pretty much an entire wave. This is not a good start for the Centaur Warrunner.
Yeah, not at all. And it's just going to keep getting worse. As Lumiere just pulling further and further ahead, and A, looking at the enemy jungle here, going to go ahead and block up that ancient camp. And that's what we worry about, right? They need to be able to contest, or at least like set up their own set of ancients here for this Terrorblade or for this Centaur even to come back into this game, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, and fortunately that snake doesn't hit him, but that's where now the lane does get much more difficult for him to very simply walk up. Haven't talked too much about that mid lane, but 45-15 to 20-0, this is exactly what should happen. You love to see Alone on these winning matchups. He plays so well when he does get that opportunity allowed for himself, and it's a nice dodge of the Sleight of Fist, but this is the pressure that is now going to be on your mid tower, and what do you bring? You'd love to bring the Hoodwink over here, but Alone, he's just going to be so farmed if you wanted to. He's only 1,000 gold away from those Boots of Travel. 6 minutes into the game, he is just running away with pretty much everything.
Well, Haste Rune, really convenient pickup there for Dark Magos. It's going to allow him to find a kill there onto that Elder Titan. But at the end of the day, Alone still bottling up, getting stronger here on the Lina. She is going to go ahead and make a rotation top.
They see the stack.
I think it's
both
top.
of them.
Oh, she does see both the stacks. Okay, yeah, that's real nice.
And they're none the wiser to this. They should know in just a second here. I actually wish that Micah would rotate mid just that way none of the XP would really be wasted, but this also works. This is just accelerating your Lina even further, and these are stacks that Angel was really banking on because Sacred just hit level 6, so he's going to come and see that there is nothing left for him. He's just going to make the realization.
He pings,
he
he's like, guys,
this is a sad situation. Yeah. And again, this is more speed for Alone, where Dark Mago, even though you got that lucky kill onto A bottom, really just because of that haste rune, what can you make of it? Because you are going to really start to fall behind this Lina. If you can continue to make plays on the supports of Infamous, that's where you're going to find that net worth. And okay, A, gonna give it up again, it looks like here, but slightly fortunate for Dark Mago, but you have to be a little bit concerned of this Alone Lina, because now, I said just a minute ago that he was 1,000 gold away, only 600 gold away from those Boots of Travel. He has really not skipped a beat.
I mean, the dream is like a 9-minute Boots of Travel, but you've got double null tally in a bottle already. Like, you have so much extra net worth that you don't normally see when going through that. And, I mean, he might hit the timing anyway. He's really not that far.
Yeah, and once he has that, that's where we're going to see him possibly go for that rotation towards the bottom lane. If you can force the Stampede out defensively, you always want to force the Stampede in the same lane as that Centaur, because you remove so many aggressive capabilities where suddenly it's much more difficult for the NoPing side to get into those correct positions. And Angel will be able to farm up a double stacked ancient camp, but really he's done with the top lane, and that's where Pandaboo doing a really good job keeping the card alive, but Sacred is still able to get the tower pretty quickly, and without level 6 he can't stay up there either, and Sacred is going to start to pick up a lot of speed on this Timbersaw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's having a great time so far. 4 points in that reactive armor, and he's just gonna continue to just basically, I can't imagine he's going to be leaving the top lane. I have to imagine he's just going to post himself up here and never leave until like one of their other towers is really being threatened. And then from then, you know, he'll probably defend a little bit. Hey, once again, going to fall to Dark Mago here in the mid lane. 4 points in the Sleight of Fist. 3 points in the Searing Chains. He has 0 in the Flame Guard. That is not something I pretty much ever see.
Yeah, and I think in large part it is because he is laning versus that Lina. And don't think there's any shot of this working, but putting a lot of pressure onto him now. This is the rotation that you want to make with your Timbersaw. After you claim that tier 1 tower, you put so much pressure on the mid, and Lumiere is here too.
Yeah, they
this
rotate
is
all
a
5.
really good rotation. Yeah, this is nice from Infamous.
They can do some damage here with this Ember Spirit, but it's not enough to take down these tanky heroes like the Timbersaw and even the Medusa as well.
Here comes the Centaur.
And Centaur gonna pop that Stampede, but the backside of the fight Sacred zoned out the rest, and they get the tower. A very clean take there from Infamous.
That was really perfectly played. You bring Lumiere, you get him out of his jungle a little bit earlier, right before he's able to actually farm any of his stacks, and look at the stacks right now. That is a huge Ancient Camp that Lumiere is going to be able to bite his teeth into. I kind of feel like you might want to rotate Sacred to make it happen a little bit sooner, but Lumiere eventually will be able to pick this up, and really Infamous are taking a lot of the map here, even alone, still playing in that topside jungle. And really, until Oscar has this Blink Dagger and he is coming up on it very quickly, we need to see some plays coming in. Everyone is so farmed in this game. It's honestly amazing.
Yeah, Elder Titan nearly just died to the stack. It was quite nice.
Look, 10 minutes into the game, you have so many heroes almost popping that 6K net worth mark. This is a crazy farmed game. Really, everyone is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, you usually like aim to have like 1, maybe 2 heroes hitting that 5K mark. But yeah, the fact that we have 4 at the 5K mark in 10 minutes is pretty wild. Mid lane, they do manage to catch the Ember Spirit. Laguna Blade does come out. It's not going to be enough to finish him, and now alone, just be able to dodge out that Sharpshooter, no problem at all. Dark Mago continuing the chase, so there's going to be the Searing Chains holding him in place. They turn around, they take down the Lina. Way too much aggression there coming out from the Lina, and this is what we were talking about earlier. You have a team without stuns.
And that is going to be the problem, where if you can find that initiation, I thought it was botched for a second there, because luckily Michael actually hit the Centaur with his Shadow Poison as he was trying to get a little bit more damage onto Dark Mago. But you're in the situation now where your mid tower is going to take a little bit of damage. You lost really your best defender. There we go. Sacred decides to TP mid. This is the hero that needs to stand large and in charge in front, and Pandabu taking a pretty bad route.
He is level 6, but nice stomp there from A on this Elder Titan. Quick kill there, going the way of Sacred.
And Dark Mago, okay, has the Remnant out. No play to be made on him, but you can't really do much to this Medusa right now. We're not seeing NoPing able to really post up any play, and there we go. Lumiere is going for his Sange and Yasha, the build that I am a little bit afraid of, just because we will have to see how much that reflection is actually going to hurt his team. But look at Angel on the other side. I believe he has his Manta style being finished up, and he is very quickly working towards that Scotty. Really, no team is skipping a beat right now. Even though you had those few deaths on A, both teams are playing really well, really believing in each other's timings. The only thing I'm worried about is this Sacred Timbersaw. How much is he able to get done? That's really the chaos factor, where if he's able to get too much damage done in these fights, I'm really looking at these offlaners to be the difference makers.
They're smoked up here on the side of Infamous. They're going to find Sacred. There's going to be the Blink Hoof Stomp. And honestly, Dark Mago, 4 seconds Searing Chains into the Sharpshooter, but he just leaves. He's too tanky. You don't have the magic damage to burst down this Timber. And a nice stomp into an Earth Splitter. Michael here up on the high ground, going to be able to help do some damage. Lina just gets caught though. Just outplayed by Dark Mago's Ember and Oscar. In comes Lumiere though, trying to take down this Ember, but he's still got one more Remnant to safety. Gonna make it to the other side. Pandabu blocking off any more aggression, and a great play here from NoPing once again.
Yeah, and it feels like they're just slightly too disconnected from their Dusa. You even see Dark Mago, he's playing this exactly how he should. He knows how invulnerable he is to every single hero on the Infamous side. Of course, you have these heroes that he can't really touch. He can't do too much damage to neither the Timbersaw or the Medusa, but space created, Angel Pop's meta, sort of a farming meta, and he's actually able to get Michael all the way in the backline there. They can't do anything versus Dark Mago, and that's where he is finding his farm. He's finding the space, and Angel, you put enough pressure on mid, you got that glitch, so if you ever make another aggressive smoke play, NoPing have set themselves up for some really good options coming in the next few minutes here.
Yeah, Dark Mago is just going to be styling this game. He had a really rough lane, but we knew in the draft how strong of an Ember game this was. Very little lockdown outside of the Lina, and even then, it's not good. None of these stuns are instant. Dark Mago can constantly play aggressive here on these backlines, just focusing heroes like that Shadow Demon and the Elder Titan. So we'll see what they do. If they get on top of the Lina as well, which they're smoked up right now looking for, they do get the vision. Dark Mago would love to start this fight alone, hiding back behind his tier 2 tower. I mean, the line was drawn. They know exactly where NoPing are. In comes Sacred to break the smoke. He knows.
Yeah, perfectly played, and this is something that Alone needs to adopt from the Four Zoomers lineup. Gunnar always had that really sharp game sense where he knew where his opponents were. He didn't let himself fall too far behind. And Dark Mago, he's bullying A. Got another sight in a few seconds here. And actually, Michael
sets up a kill there onto that SD. Really easy stuff. And that's a down Earth Splitter, and they can just keep cutting the waves here, applying pressure, and it's really opened up the map for TB. Angel has just been under zero pressure. You could argue the same kind of for the Medusa, but your team is really struggling. Now down 2-9. If it wasn't for Sacred's Timber Saw, your map would be shrinking very fast.
And that's where I honestly don't feel like I agree too much with Sacred's item build here. I know that the Kai Assange is the snowball item if you did have a very good lane, but something that NoPing is really good right now at doing is forcing the enemy team to play on their side of the map, where I would really rather have Sacred putting more pressure on this top tier 2 tower, forcing his opponents back, where instead he has to play this defense game where I almost feel like Lumiere could fill that role, and that's where we're really seeing the space being created for Angel, where you're working towards that Scotty. I can't imagine he has it right now. He just has a Dragon Lance queued up sort of in the middle, but right now it's a 4v5 that NoPing are continuously winning. Therefore, because of the fact that Infamous weren't able to draft that much lockdown coming from their heroes, and really those 2 deaths on Alone, we haven't seen that rotation to the enemy side of the map in a very long time. All of the action has been really in Infamous's woods, and that's all the time in the world given over to the Terrorblade that should have the leg up in this matchup. That's why we see Lumiere actually going for that Aghanim Scepter, because you need a stun, you need that little bit of lockdown, and we're not getting it from anyone else. OA.
He's doing what he can here. What a sharpshooter as well. Little sleight of fist to set up another kill. And with Oscar chasing for more on the backside, does catch the Timber Saw. Slight chains in one. Gonna hold Sacred in place. I don't think they have the damage really, as Angel just wants to focus on this mid-tier 2 tower. And there's gonna be no chance Infamous are gonna be able to fight into the side of NoPing like we see over and over here. They're just doing such a good job. The fortification comes out from NoPing here to try and keep this wave alive as long as possible, but Angel's still committing with this siege. The Dragon Lance helping out quite a bit. And Dark Mago actually running out of mana, so he needs to back here. Gonna TP all the way home. Drops that Remnant though. What a bushwhack, holding the Medusa back. Centaur able to blink. Pandabu on the high ground, not threatened either. And honestly, with Dark Mago coming back, they might be able to fight. They're going to go ahead and try and turn around. Alone wants at the LSA. He does. He catches the Ember, lays right into him. The Demonic Purge is there, but Dark Mago's still alive. Pandabu able to heal him up. There's going to be the kill. Finally coming in from Michael as he pops him, but now Angel on the run as well. They might have overstayed their welcome. Manta Style doing what he can, but Angel, you can't outrun this Timber Saw.
No, and he should go down here, and are we going to see them morph into Roche? We aren't. If Lumiere had a crit stick, maybe you could see them go for that objective, but really on the fringe, and a perfect Earth Splitter coming in from A. Without that Earth Splitter, you aren't able to get that connection onto the Ember Spirit. I think he barely lives there, and for the first time, we did see that Shadow Demon Purge actually working pretty well on the Ember Spirit. There was no way for him to get out. He had already used most of his remnants, and a little bit crazy there from Dark Mago. I think if he had his remnant a little further back, his reinitiation into that fight would have felt a lot safer, a lot cleaner, where instead he got clipped by a lot of Alone spells on that Lina, something that he's been so good about dodging ever since really just the start of this game. And okay, Sacred, this is a battle.
It is. They're going to go and start channeling up that sharpshooter, doing what they can, but the Lina just laying into him, and Centaur goes down. Now Dark Mago needs to be careful. Another Light Striker away. Not going to connect this time. He does have that Remnant to safety, but it's turned on its head. Infamous very strong now after this Lina has started to pop off, find some big damage here. It does have that BKB completed.
Yeah, and now with this BKB up on alone, he's going to be able to be that secondary frontliner where him and Lumiere are going to be able to set up with each other just that little bit more. And that's where you might have that setup, but mid lane, they didn't even have the sharpshooter. I think Sacred just got a little bit ahead of himself. He didn't have that much mana to play with either. That is a little bit of a bad death to give away. And I was going to mention back to his item build, you have this Kai Sange, which is a fantastic item, but typically if you have that hood, if you have that immediate Lotus Orb, those are the items you always go for when it comes to playing versus this Terrorblade. And if you have that Lotus Orb, I don't think you die to this Ember Spirit any day of the week. I'm a little bit disturbed by his item build, and I understand why. The Kai Sange does feel fantastic, but giving up 1 or 2 deaths here because of this later Lotus Orb timing, I don't feel like you're going to be happy with that.
Yeah, I feel like this game, if he's going to kind of be a little sad that he's not, or he's going to be kind of sad that he has that death early. I mean, Sacred on the Timber Saw needs to be able to honestly kind of pop off here in the mid game and make space for this Medusa, force fights as well as apply pressure. It comes back to the same thing where like you just don't have a lot of lockdown here, and once this TB finishes up this Eye of Scotty, which he's very close, less than 1,000 gold away, I don't know how you actually kill this guy. Like the only real option is the Lina, but if the Lina is getting ran at by like a stampeded Centaur and an Ember Spirit, it's not going to be it's not going to go too well for Infamous.
And that's where you take a look at Alone's buildup. He's actually going for the Aghanim Scepter, which I want to say is a calculated risk because we'll have to see what he goes for at that level 20 talent. It should always be the other one. You should always get that Fiery Soul per stack, but with this Aghanim Scepter buildup, I'm honestly questioning myself a little bit here, because do you really feel like you need to go all in for this spell damage? Typically, we see the Lina go for that crit stick, go for that Daedalus buildup, and then you feel like now this Terrorblade is scared to walk up, but I think Alone is getting a little bit scared here. We're not seeing that same level, that gunner level Lina coming out from him, and this is a really smart smoke up. They've gotten to the point where now, if they get any pick on this side of the map, this is going to be the immediate Roshan.
Lumiere would be huge. He does happen to have that shard, though, and a great save from the Shadow Demon. Lumiere still holding his Stone Gaze. They're going to turn around now. Stampede to get the boys out as Lumiere chases them even further, but the backside of the fight, it's going to be Dark Mago trading here with Alone. Shadow Demon will buy back into the game. Sacred's gonna get sundered, and Lumiere, he's just getting beat down by Angel, but Angel's the one who's just gonna eat a Laguna Blade instead, standing way too aggressive on the high ground there. And Infamous find a great fight here as Lumiere just too tanky for them to bring down. That Ags and Shard completed here at 22 minutes, proving to be just too much for NoPing.
And perfect from Sacred. He's not letting that Hoodman get the bushwhack. The tree just got cut. So unless Dark Mago goes for an insane steal here, this is going to feel like too much, I think. They're still terrified of Dark Mago, though. They don't want to let him get too much damage here. They need to delay just that little bit more, I think. Okay, Snake out. They need to refocus, though. If they let this Terrorblade respawn, this is going to get a lot sketchier for them, but he only has a way back into this fight from that tier 2 mid, and actually, they bought enough time. Neither team can stay around here.
I'm surprised they don't want to give like commit for the Roshan, but I guess you are pretty low on mana for the Medusa as well as the Lina, who has no mana at all. So I think once Lina comes back, they might look to take another stab at the Roshan here. No meta for quite a while. He's still has 60 seconds before that's coming up off cooldown in Infamous. They are going to go ahead and smoke up.
And they have to be really cautious. Any pick is going to be... Oh, this is even smarter.
They just smoke right into the Roche. Yeah, it's super low. They know it's coming up, and that is going to be the grab. And Michael with a pre-casted disruption. Going to interrupt Oscar there. He's trying to run away with that Stampede. He's going to be able to do it, but no. What a snake. Catches him from downtown, and Oscar will go down.
It's just perfect. The smoke up, they had no idea Lumiere didn't have that much mana to work with still, and actually, Dark Mago, he's looking for Alone's BKB, but... Oh my goodness. He
Dark
had the remnant
Mago
out, but
goes down.
so greedy. So greedy from the Ember Spirit. And it felt like, really, if NoPing, they could have put an illusion in there. If Angel's just a little bit closer, sure, you don't have that meta, but you give something for Oscar to play around, and now the kills just keep coming their way, and now pressure onto that mid tower. Lumiere has hit his timing. He has that Mystic Stake Mana Steel talent now, so all of the fights become way more difficult. Before, you were right before that timing, where if you don't have that much mana on Lumiere, it's way harder to get it back up, but now you have this infinite mana pool to work with, and the Daedalus is already in his back pocket. This is becoming really troublesome for NoPing.
Yeah, he is going to be really strong here in a moment. Backside of the fight, Matthew's trying to make a little bit of space, but it looks like Infamous don't want to push their luck here. They know they finally have grabbed themselves their first real lead of this game, and they just want to wait for that. I think they do just want to wait for the Daedalus at this point, as well as the Aghanim Scepter, which is not that far off here for Alone. Again, about 1,000, I mean less than 1,000 gold, 800 gold away.
And it is interesting going for this Aghanim Scepter. Again, I want to see what he actually goes for at that level 20, but we'll have to see. Really, I want to see more from Dark Mago. I think the 2 deaths he's given up have actually been pretty paramount for his team. And yeah, look at Lumiere just chunk Dark Mago. He has no armor item yet. He's gone for the Kaya Sanj, and without a Shiva's Guard, without a plate mail, he just takes so much damage in these fights. And now that you have this pretty nice mix of damage coming in from Alone, if he ever sticks around for too long, he is just going to get immediately bursted. You take a look at his HP pool until he gets this Aghanim Scepter, a Laguna Blade, a level 3 Laguna Blade is going to be half of that. So he has to be so careful with how he engages here. Same with NoPing, or rather with Angel, where you have this BKB now, but your HP pool isn't sitting that high and pretty either. So now his next item, we're going to see what he queues up, whether that is going to be the Daedalus or the Satanic. I feel like they're playing behind Infamous's timings right now. They need to get some sort of counterplay going, because we haven't seen really any signs of life coming out of this Ember Spirit since he was playing so confidently on those Infamous supports. I think they're getting a little bit too scared here.
Yeah, it seems so. Lumiere, you go ahead and just take bottom at T1 tower as they're trading for top at the very moment, but they can continue this push. They have the Timber Saw, they have the Medusa here. They're going to be able to take over this triangle if they need, get some good wards down. A little bit of a pause for a moment. Lena might be having a couple issues.
Yeah, and hopefully Alone will be able to still have those really nice reactions. He's been really good with his LSAs. It's hard to not give that over to A, who has really polished up his positioning, polished up his play. I feel like he's been hitting so many impactful Earth Splitters, and it really is ending up mattering, as well as just having that Astral Spirit always out on whichever target Alone is going on. It just makes them melt like butter. There's not much they can do, especially the Centaur Warrunner after Oscar commits that Stampede, and it feels like he needs to save it. He needs to trade it for that Stone Gaze pretty much every single time. If he is forced to use it just that little bit sooner than he wants to, the fight just completely falls apart, because they have 0 disengage apart from that Stampede. And we're seeing as well the Abaddon, who is really getting caught up by this Astral Spirit Stomp. If you get slept on this Abaddon, you have to immediately pop your ulti again a little bit sooner than you feel comfortable with. And if you're not kiting out these fights, you're more or less losing these fights. And we haven't felt yet that timing where Angel is going to feel completely confident with the reflection playing into that Medusa. It just feels like right now, even Angel doesn't want to stand up versus Lumiere.
Yeah, not at all. Appears to be we're having a little bit of Discord issue here as we're waiting for them to get that resolved and jump back into this game. But as of right now, I mean, game's been pretty even. I mean, overall net worth and XP has been close. XP actually quite a bit in favor of Infamous at this point. Win probability now going their way quite a bit as well. But I have to worry, you know, they do have, you know, this Terrorblade, but we just saw in the last fight, you know, what happens if he tries to stand his ground against this Medusa, who, you know, just went for the Ags and the Shard right away. And the idea here is to just tank up as much as possible, giving herself as much effective HP to really just let the Lena do as much damage as possible. And you know, Alone, he's got the Aghanim Scepter completed. It's about to be delivered. That pure damage Laguna Blade is not going to be something that you can really like calculate for at this. Like, you just aren't going to be expecting it.
And fortunately for NoPing, they've made their decision a little bit sooner, and they are pushing in both waves, so they get a lot of good damage actually on this mid-tier 3, which will force Infamous to fix their lanes, but we'll have to see if they want to stick around in this Radiant Triangle, if they want to test the waters, see if they actually want to get a fight going, or if they want to find possibly a pickoff on the Lina, who has stuck behind bottom. I will have to see what NoPing really want to do. They want to wait out this Aegis, but it will be gone in a minute here. That's where we're going to need to see a few more items. I like that Oscar has decided to go for that Heaven's Halberd. Just give a little bit more space to work with where they can kite this Medusa, but they need to kill everyone else. They can't start on Lumiere. Really, the big reason why that Roche fight went as bad as they did is they smoked into the Medusa, tried to kill her, and then you immediately had that save from Michael. And now you're going to have an Aghanim Scepter being finished by that Shadow Demon. You're going to throw out all of those purges, and then it's not going to matter that you're BKB'd on this Terrorblade. It matters that you're going to get kited up. If you time it a little bit too poorly, we've seen heroes before just absolutely get popped by those 3 demonic purges all going down on the same person. And after the fight, if you do kite out those BKBs, you do kite out that Stampede, and this is where Michael is really going to come into a completely new form, really in his own field. And that's where hopefully he isn't getting gone. And if Dark Mago can find him, I would have loved to see that Blink Dagger built up maybe a little bit sooner, but he just feels like right now Lumiere, and even Lumiere feels like he isn't in any threat of dying. We haven't seen him really been in any of those compromising positions, and I don't think they have really enough Force Staffs to kite out right now. It again falls upon that Stampede whether or not Infamous are able to force it out, and unfortunately looks like the smoke is going to be tanked by Pandaboo, but this is kind of just buying time for NoPing to finish off a few more of those items.
Yep, no big deal at all there, losing the fight position of Baden for that smoke. Obviously, you would much rather have something else, but they don't really have much of a choice. That's who they run into. They did not happen to catch Dark Mago as he was making his way to cut the mid lane. But yeah, I'll be honest, NoPing are doing a pretty good job at keeping these lanes pushed in, like Terrorblade, constantly keeping one lane in, as well as the Ember Spirit cutting waves over and over and over, and a lot of this just comes down to the lack of control here on the side of Infamous. Like, they don't have these instant disables to really punish this Ember Spirit. Without, I mean, a frame perfect Light Strike array, you're just not getting that initiation.
Yeah, and that's where I would love to see Alone go for that Shadow Blade. It does feel a little bit sideways, but right now I am trying to figure out what he would want to go for next. The only bad thing about this Aghanim Scepter, while it is going to make these BKB targets that little bit more afraid of you, it messes with your build-up quite heavily, where do you go back for the Daedalus now, then your Satanic's going to be even later, do you go back for right-click, or do you now go laterally towards that Octarine core, where you're going to get more of those Laguna Blades out and give yourself a little bit more cast range? That's the big reason why we typically don't see this coming in from Linas. That's why Gunnar always pretty much goes for the BKB, Daedalus, Satanic every single game, and then you feel like you have that incredibly strong double core. Alone's definitely gone for a much riskier build-up, and something that I am curious to see what he inevitably decides to go for. He queues up the crit stick, so maybe it will just be him fixing his build in that same similar direction, but we'll have to see. And looking at the other side, you have Angel now going for the Butterfly, also picking up that Elven Tunic, which does force the Medusa to go for that MKB, but Lumiere's timings are right on the money. He's going to have this MKB as soon as Angel decides to go for that Butterfly, and then we're not really going to see that big advantage coming out from NoPing.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to see Alone go for the MKB. He actually switches up, goes for that instead. I think this is, you know, much better than going for the Daedalus at this point. He doesn't need to be doing the big numbers. He just needs to be able to hit the Terrorblade is the thing. And so the MKB, I think, much better itemization here. They're going to run into Oscar here. His Stampede comes out right away, and he is going to escape. Another botched smoke here from Infamous, as they just can't find the heroes.
And that's where the gold lead is starting to shift very heavily, because you have these very obnoxious heroes. And you look at Matthew, 1-1 and 10. He has had a very clean game so far. He has a full Octarine core, just playing up in this top lane, able to farm a little bit more. And this is the second time where there are creeps hitting Infamous tier 3 towers, where look at the tier 3 towers on the NoPing side. there is absolutely no damage. And that's where Infamous, whether it's going to be a Hex, whether it's going to be some form of Disable, we need something coming out from these luxury items that really they're missing. And you look at Matthew, they don't have these sentries set up. This camouflage is being honestly really obnoxious, and without them killing these side laners, this is more time where we are barreling towards that late game.
Medusa queuing up an MKB like we talked about as well. Sacred going for the blink after his Shivas. Matthew, just too difficult to catch.
And that's where that blink dagger up on Michael was, I think, a little bit more valuable than this Aghanim Scepter at this time in the game. Something interesting that I kind of would like to see would be that Aghanim's Shard actually picked up on the Shadow Demon. Mainly because I haven't seen it yet, as well as believing that if you had an Aghanim Shard Demonic Purge Medusa running at your tower, there's actually nothing you can do on the NoPing side. It just purges off absolutely everything. You would just be able to sit there and get a lot of free damage, but I really need to see Infamous start to fix these lanes, whether or not it's another Boots of Travel purchased up on Sacred or something, because right now they're really struggling to fix these lanes and push into the enemy team, and that's where NoPing are actually starting to formulate a little bit of that gold lead. And do you want to go into a late game where you were already struggling to have any lockdown for this Ember Spirit? Now he's got this BKB queued up. He was able to finish this Aghanim Scepter. This matchup only gets worse for you as the game goes on. I'm a little bit concerned now for Infamous. I think they're getting a little too comfy. They got Matthew at least.
Finally punishing the scroll top lane.
Yeah, that's only the start. And actually, you saw them smoke up on NoPing, but
Completed Daedalus here on the Terrorblade. He ended up doing that instead of going for the Butterfly. Probably anticipating MKBs coming out from both these heroes, and so he just wants to do the raw damage. In the Roche pit, though, it has just respawned Aegis Cheese and Shard online. The Dire did have a ward here. I think it might have caught eyes of A here, so Angel just gonna walk in, drop that reflection, yep, and look into the pit alone. Pops the BKB, but my god, he's dead. Yeah. Angel in just a few auto attacks takes him down, and now seeing how low Roche is, he's like, all right, don't mind if I do. Just gonna take this, NoPing. Gonna grab this Roche. The buybacks come in, but it's not gonna be fast enough as the Aegis Cheese Shard all on the deck.
And nothing. A can't hold him there. They can't get anything after the fact, even though that Stampede was already committed. Really good positioning from Angel just to walk in there with complete confidence, and no Force Staffs, no way to get the Lina out of there after the BKB was committed. And that's where this matchup really feels terrible, where you don't have very much armor, you don't have Daedalus Satanic, you don't have those big numbers to heal you up, and this is where Alone's build doesn't really feel like the Lina that we're very used to seeing. And same with Lumiere, even though you didn't die, you weren't able to accomplish very much. And is the Agi Blink being built up on Lumiere? So he is playing very adjacent to Angel, seeing that him going for that Daedalus, he's not going to need that MKB quite so soon, but I just really want to see more from Alone. I feel like he's really not been able to have any impact on this game, as well as Michael just not having any opportunities to get those demonic purges down, slowing up that Terrorblade. They started that fight really awfully, and that was with just a Terrorblade BKB walking into the pit.
They're gonna find him though. This is what they needed, but there is no way to break that TP, and that's it. You know, the simple just TP lull. He makes it out, and another interrupt there. Matthew
and
just being a nuisance.
Look at their creep waves. There is just no recourse for them right now. They need another Boots of Travel, and they need someone to play around these creeps. Otherwise, this is more space, and NoPing now with an Aegis. I don't think you can allow NoPing any more farm. You need to do something with your heroes, and I think Infamous are starting to become a little bit too aimless here, where NoPing are completely fine with that eventuality. They're fine with all of this net worth being put on really all of their heroes, everyone across the board, farming a little bit more than the Infamous side. Both of their supports are really starting to languish. I'm getting sort of a reality check here. I'm feeling like Infamous are really starting to fall behind, and maybe you find Matthew here. He is a little bit far out, but
nice jump to the low ground, and it's not going to be enough. He makes it out. Great use of the sharpshooter. And now Dark Mago, he did manage to get, he was the one who received the shard from the Roshan. I love this. Once you have the Ags, this thing feels so good.
Yeah, and he really doesn't need to be the damage dealer. He is more or less completely reliant on Angel to finish off heroes like the Medusa, like the Timbersaw, but he is fine with his role because, again, they don't have any lockdown. They don't have any guaranteed disable for him, and we will get to a point where once this Ember Spirit possibly has that refresher queued up, we will see those 10 remnant bombs, and that's where we really start to see heroes are going to die, especially in this backline where he's working on his Glimmer Cape right now, but I am just really scared. Even though NoPing, they haven't even touched the high ground yet, but it's just the natural creep waves. You look at all of their tier 3 towers, mid and bottom are pretty much almost dead, where if they ever do break the high ground, racks are going to start to fall.
Yeah, they've done an incredible job here on NoPing being able to keep these lanes pushed in. Like, that is like the one thing that, you know, definitely deserves a lot of credit. Like, they have done a incredible job on both Angel and on this Ember Spirit, Dark Mago, like constantly being able to cut wave after wave. They actually managed to find Matthew once again in the bottom lane. Yeah, and Matthew as well, right? We saw him top lane for so long, constantly cutting the wave, but you know, he lost a position 4. No big deal. Wave's still pushed into the tier 3 tower. You don't really care all that much. You're continuing to farm up here on the Terrorblade, and it's just gonna keep getting worse. Like, he's gonna have this Aghanim Scepter completed at some point. He actually bought out for something else. I think it was the B. No, what did he buy out for? Oh, it was BKB. Yeah. Or no, he bought a Swift Blink. Oh, jeez. I was like, which of these items is new? But I thought Swift Blink was on Medusa earlier. So he's bought the Swift Blink, is gonna go back for the Aghanim Scepter. So you do have that blink into Terror Wave, which is so sick. One of my favorite like new combos since the Aghanim Scepter was introduced.
And that will completely ruin the backline for Infamous. That's that wave where we talked about the Tidehunter a little bit in a different series where you need to be so close to your allies, and that'll be your Blink Ravage, not to mention giving you more time in that Metamorphosis to play around. We're already feeling like now Infamous are getting to that point where we are getting to that stage of the game where it feels like we are on a timer, as well as, man, every single time I click on Angel, I see 625 blasts, and here's the fight.
Yeah, they're just jumping on in. They're able to jump these heroes on the backside, and it's, again, the Swift Blink doing all the work here. Medusa trying to run, but you can't outrun an Ember Spirit. Stone Gaze was already committed, and now the big bad Terrorblade is... No way. No way did that actually work.
I can't believe it. He didn't have the chains for another second there, and
Oscar was off of Stomp as well.
Okay. And they lost the Aegis during all of that, so they do have to still push high ground with this Metamorphosis. They, again, they buttered up this tower so many times before, and hopefully if there are buybacks...
Can try and force the BKB, they do. And you're just going to TP home. But without a BKB for the high ground defense, you do have to be a little bit worried. Angel now with the Terror Wave completed, ready to go. Takes down the tier 3 tower. Will back off a little bit here since he has begun to fall kind of low. And Pandabu just healing him up. The Holy Locket plus Mistcoil takes that Mistcoil heal damage as well. I mean, look at that healing, my lord.
Yeah, and
315 amp 35%, right? Jesus.
Yeah, it's that Holy Locket, that item that really everybody ignored for the longest time, but now it's so core on so many of these healing heroes. And I think Angel, you see he's probably just going to farm up his buyback now, play around that next Rosh, and fortunately for Infamous, that will be their moment where they can get an honest fight out of NoPing. That'll be when we can finally see these two teams clash on more or less even terms, but we are getting to the stage of the game where I felt like this Lina was going to provide so much more than she actually has. I'm honestly really disappointed in what Alone has been showing for us. He hasn't been able to be nearly as impactful as every single time we've seen this mid Lina, and we need that from him. We need him to be that difference maker where I really thought it would come down to the offlanes, whether or not Sacred or Oscar would be able to get more done, but it feels like we're playing with a gimp leg. We're playing with someone who is not playing on the same level as this Dark Mago Ember Spirit. They're not getting that sort of ta-ta-ta where we see them fighting each other. It's more just Dark Mago kiting around these fights, getting your BKB forced, and then Alone running away, or Alone getting Agi blinked on and just completely shredded by this Terrorblade that really hasn't skipped a beat. He's always farming at least 3 or 4 places at the same time. So this Roshan is going to be paramount. This is going to be where really the game is going to be make or break.
Yep, absolutely. And Terrorblade queuing up the Ag's Blessing, rather. I'm a little bit confused. I'm not really sure if he needs to buy out for that. It's obviously one of those things that is a nice addition to your kit, but Lumiere just Swift Blink in super aggressive with the help of Savior. They take down Matthew. Pandabu forced to ult, but now in comes a Stampede. Oscar, he's found Michael. They get the kill. Angel walks right into an Earth Splitter. Does need to be careful. Does have that Sunder available, but Lumiere pops the Stone Gaze and alone with that Laguna just bursts him down. They finally get that Terror Blade, holding that Terror Wave just a little bit too long. Where is Dark Mago? This guy is just zipping all over the map. He is now bottom lane, looking to keep this tower lane pushed all the way in. And yes, you win this big fight, but now Infamous, they've got to get something on the map for this. This Medusa has to reach the high ground of NoPing in order to really benefit much here. And they have one creep at 50 HP, and it is now dead.
Yep. And that's where they still can't do anything. Dark Mago's playing so well. Unfortunately, actually used more or less all of his remnants. He was bottom, and then he was top, and then he was over here. But that's just how big the range. That's why this Aghanim Scepter feels so fantastic. And they do get him off of this mid wave. I think he was a
and
little
look at
bit
Oscar.
too...
He's pushing the tier 3 top. He's in a lot of trouble here. Just going to be forced to BKB TP once again, but Catapult doing the damage. I mean, this is just NoPing. They're stalling this out so long. You still don't have Terrorblade for 40 seconds, though, and now Lumiere in alone. They finally made it onto the high ground. You're going to have to respond to this. If Shadow Demon can make it up this lane in time and have those demonic purges ready, they're going to be in a really good position. But there it is, Oscar, blink in. He finds it on the backside. The Dagon comes out. It's not enough, though, and now Centaur's starting to fall. Able to get the Stampede off, will make it. Medusa alone gets sniped by Dark Mago. The man just doesn't stop. Just too much catch here on this Ember, and now looking for Lumiere. Does he get the chains off? Not in time.
And unfortunately, now Roshan responding in 1 second here. We might see this Lina forced to buyback. I think that fight really doesn't go that poorly for Infamous if they let Michael just wait a few seconds here, and then Michael's going to be able to sit behind you with that disruption, but instead, those remnants do so much damage, and they have to be so careful. They get caught off guard by this Terror Wave. This is going to be the beginning of the end here, as well as Alone. Doesn't have his BKB for 30 seconds. They find this Lina. This is the beginning of the end.
They're going to see Michael. That's a hero they want to definitely initiate on. There's the Terror Wave, comes out, and he finds the SD. He is dead on the low ground. They're going to find Oscar as well. Or sorry, Oscar finds Sacred. Dark Mago continuing the chase here, looking for these heroes, holding Medusa down. And the question is, like, can she do this alone? They're going to buy back here on the Shadow Demon. They need these demonic purges online, and they're going to respect that here on the side of NoPing, backing off for the moment. Angel jumps in aggressively. He's looking for Michael. He's just dead. Unbelievable. The dieback right out of the gate. Angel's targeting just on point as he's just going to look for the high ground, taking this tier 3 tower and now looking for the lane of barracks. There's no stopping him. They can't close the gap, and instead he's blinking further and further into the base, going off these chains that Dark Mago sets up for him. Oscar also going to catch the Medusa, nearly taking down the Elder Titan. He does burst him down with the help of that Hoodwink. And meanwhile, Angel, the building hitter, dude, he does not stop. Takes 2 lanes of barracks. Now looking bottom as well. Pops that Swift Blink, giving him more damage and more attack speed. And the fortification finally coming in from Infamous. Lumiere here on this Medusa. She is so strong, but she can't get anywhere near the Terror Blade.
Even Angel, they need something here, an LSA, any lockdown, maybe you kill Oscar. They'll take what you can get.
He gets the BKB up, and Dark Mago's here on the backside, just gonna chains down the Medusa. She's forced to Stone Gaze, and they still get the tower. Lumiere will be able to back off. There is a sharpshooter coming through. Oh, a nice bait there, the blink out on the Medusa, but Angel's just gonna use his time to focus on the tier 4s. That Terror Wave giving him a little bit of time on that meta, and now they will just disengage. They've gotten everything they want.
And unfortunately, they do still need to end the game here, but...
Oh, Sleep catches Dark Mago.
Oh, but it's just too hard. Oh, wait, you went forward?
He went the wrong way by mistake, I think.
Okay. I don't know if that's a mini-map clip or what happened there, but I really felt like he was out. Could have also been saved by Pandabu with the Aphotic Shield. Okay, they're going to get scared out of the Roche now. They're Megas, but they're not out of it, but
He's
Dark
buying
Mako,
back,
here
and
he
he's got a
comes.
really aggressive remnant that he can return to. So he's not too afraid here. Hoodwink starting to fall pretty low and will indeed get taken down, but it's just space, right? Angel's in the Roche. In comes Lumiere, though. He blinks super aggressive, but Angel's still able to get that Aegis. Second life coming back, and on the backside, it's going to be Oscar just burned down from Sacred. They've got to disengage, but on the backside, Angel's able to just blink out of the pit and run. There's no way he survives this, right? Stonegaze comes out, pops the BKB, gonna try and turn around. Nice reflection, doing what he can. Delt have that Sunder still up. Dark Mago just doing so much work here on this Ember Spirit, making so much space. They catch the hoof stomp here onto the Medusa. They're going to start burning through her. She doesn't have any mana. She pops the cheese, trying to keep herself in it, but it's not enough. NoPing just
really
outplaying Infamous around the map.
For so long, he got the refresher shard, he got the cheese, he got everything he could possibly want on Lumiere besides the Aegis. And that's all that mattered there. They weren't able to kill him in the pit, and now this is everything. This is do or die. You're not going to have your Timbers off for another 75 seconds. And
the blink aggressive right on Selena. They just burst him. The setups over and over here from Dark Mago have just been perfect, and Lumiere just getting shredded. No chance in hell. Angel just clouding, sundering him up to full HP just to kill him a second time. The disrespect.
And there we get the GG's out. Really just so well played from NoPing. And I think they lost the game earlier in the week to Hikori in a very similar fashion where they could have gone for the split push play. They knew the advantages they had, and really Dark Mago just played so fantastically. He kept those waves in forever. Same with Angel. Even though they weren't able to make plays for a very long time, it felt like even though they were getting that split push done, even though they were still building up, it didn't feel boring for a second there. They were really playing on the fringe. And Infamous, they got to be shooting themselves in the foot right now. They really feel bad about this loss. They were ahead for such a long period of time. They were really able to make those very easy plays, but Dark Mago, he died once, he died twice. Never after that point. Maybe you kill him sort of at the end of the game there where he buys back and comes, but for about 25 minutes, Dark Mago was more or less invulnerable, and that's something that you had to fix in your last pick here, and you didn't fix it. You instead decided to give him an absolutely trash lane, which he did have to deal with, but you weren't able to be that difference maker. You weren't able to push your advantage. I think maybe if we get a BKB a little bit earlier from Lumiere, they never had the tools to break that high ground. You didn't have the boots of travel to push in those waves, and NoPing played around your lineup just fantastically. They didn't give you that honest fight for so long, and they pushed that advantage every single time you gave them an opening.
Yeah, this was the Dark Mago show. I mean, he crushed this game, absolutely played flawless. Like, yeah, he had one of the worst lanes we've seen in the mid lane here for a while, but just bounces back, absolutely knows that this is a great Ember Spirit game, crushes it from then on, and it's just space for Angel. Like, Dark Mago did like 3 times the amount of damage of nearly, you know, his entire team. But it's just that performance that enabled this Terrorblade to be this ultimate late game carry. Just take these barracks and shred through that base there of Infamous that, you know, was all it was needed. That was Terrorblade's job this game, and he executed it well. Really well played by NoPing, and we've got 1 game left here this evening, and we'll be throwing to a very short break, everyone, so stay tuned. We'll be back with game number 2 of Infamous and NoPing. We'll see you then.